Have you ever wanted to be more confident on camera? Maybe you've seen actors on TV giving interviews, doing movies, and they just seem so incredibly confident and having no fear in the world of having conversations. And you want to adapt those things for your live streamings. Today, we're going to be talking all about how to live stream as an actor as we continue to celebrate International Women's Month, where we are learning from strong, accomplished women in live streaming. Today, I am so excited because we are hanging out with a professional actor. She is a speaker, award-winning on-air host, and a podcaster, and she is going to help us to bring out our inner actor. And we are going to be talking all about how to captivate your audience on air. So we are going to be welcoming her today. Get down into my chat and let me know that you're here, that you're joining us, and if you've ever had the opportunity to act on stage, as we welcome today's guest, Camille Kauer. Camille, we are so excited to have you today. How are you?
First off, thank you so much for having me. Happy Women's History Month. We are really doing this today. I'm so excited to be here. I'm elated. I'm all excited. I'm all the things, right? I got to be very dramatic with that intro.
Oh, yeah, of course. I feel like as an actor, that is what you do, and that's what you need to do in order to engage online. So tell us a little bit about you. What have you done? What does your background look like?
Yeah, so I guess the most popular thing that people would know me from is from Dawson's Creek. I played Betty the cheerleader with Michelle Williams and Josh Jackson, all those wonderful people, which I should shout out that he's getting ready to film another film down here in Wilmington. Please call my agent, Directions USA. But I do a lot of commercial work for the most part because I am a mom. So that's my number one job, is taking care of my teenager. But I really lucked out because I worked as a spa director. I worked as an esthetician, worked as a makeup artist, photographer. I grew up with two parents that worked in the film industry. My father is a producer, movie producer. He really well known for that. He did the current film Till. He did Girls Trip, New Jack City, Jason's Lyric, Crush Groove. I just interviewed Sheila E. today, so Crush Groove is in my mind. That was like 1985 for all those youngins out there. And then because I grew up around entertainment and I was always creating voices, doing weird things. My mom sometimes would walk past my room and think there was somebody else in the room with me while I was playing Barbies. And I felt like the mirror was a camera. So I was always like performing weird things and thought that's how you got discovered. Little did I know that's not the case, which is really great because people don't need to see me singing and dancing around in the bathroom the way that I do. But after a few years of just trying to find, because growing up with an entertainment family, you kind of want the stability, because I went to 26 different schools. I went to 6 different colleges. I moved around a lot while they were pursuing their dreams and didn't really get to make that foundation for my own. So when I feel like I was kind of a late bloomer on things, but then realized I had to be an entertainer. I wanted to be like Arsenio Hall, Johnny Carson, or just talk show. And so when podcasting came about, it was almost as if my dreams had come true. I could finally do everything I wanted without the limitation of my location, because I had moved from LA back to North Carolina to take care of my mom, who was also a stunt woman. So again, like I grew up around these people doing amazing things that made me think maybe I could do it too. So that's how it all started.
I love that. And I love, because we are focused on International Women's Month, that you are shouting out those women that have inspired you. Your mother sounds like quite the force in your life. And I love that she was able to pour into what you did and how that has then parlayed throughout the course of your life. Now you have gone through acting, you're a podcaster, you help educate people on how you can be more confident on camera. So today we're going to chat all about how to grow our confidence when we are on live streams. And if you're joining us live and you have questions, our chat box is open. We're taking your questions today. So jump into the conversation. Let us know what you want answered today. We're here to make sure we're helping you to grow so that you can thrive in your online live stream space. So let's get into the conversation. We're going to get to your questions in just a couple of minutes. Camille, I want to talk a little bit. We've kind of touched on how your background has influenced what you're doing, but give us some very specific examples of how you've taken your acting career and implemented it into what you do on your live streams.
No, that's a great point. Because one thing about with acting, normally you're taught not to look directly into the camera. So that's rule number one that normally you don't do. But I had a wonderful lady who's also an actress and a host on HGTV, all these different things. And she taught me about you got to look directly in the camera. So you got to look as if you're talking to your best friend. And then the improv comes into it because you never know when your guest might say something that you're like, wait, I had planned to go this direction with the conversation, but now I have to pivot another way and be able to think quickly on your feet. There's so many times, even today, I had written all my questions I had for Sheila E. I left them at home. But thankfully, that I don't ever use my script anyway. It's just since I keep writing it over and over and just like drill it into my head. Same thing I use for memorizing lines. I drill it into my head. I make a rhythm out of it. So it's just because there's times when you're on stage or in front of the camera where the director might say, okay, I need for you to pivot at this time or pan over this way or move camera left. And so you can't always think about the words when you also have to do movement and action. And I'm usually acting by myself. I don't have someone to react to. So it's even a matter of knowing that there's somebody on the other lens, your audience, even with podcasting, that needs to be entertained. They need to know from your voice that you're excited. They need to know from your facial expressions, your body movements and so on, that you're confident, that the different movements you're making actually make sense, that you're not just like, because that's very distracting as well. It's just a lot of it came from practicing. That mirror is your friend. But now we all have these wonderful devices where we can create content. We can rewatch what we do, because that's the other part of it. With acting now, they've been allowing self-taping. So you can record your own audition. And then you can see from the casting director's perspective what you look like, what you're good at, what's your better angle. Because I do have this one little gap that bothers me very badly. So when I'm in audition, I don't ever think about it because I'm just trying to get the job. But when I'm recording myself, I'm like, ooh, I can re-record this and this time do it on this side. You know what I mean? Like it's just those little things, but it helps me also with podcasting and even with Zooms or live streaming, whatever you may do where you are on camera. It's important to make sure that you're feeling confident, that you're comfortable with what you're talking about, that you've practiced, that you've said these things over and over. That one thing that's, if it's always the truth, it doesn't matter when somebody asks you about it, it's always going to be the truth. And so when you're an actor, it has to be true to you, what you're relaying, what character you're playing. And when I'm podcasting, I don't necessarily change who I am as a person, but I might pump it up a notch in the sense of like in the winter, I get the sads. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm indoors. I'm cold. I miss my LA sunshine. But when I go on camera, it's a sunny day. It's a happy day. All the lights help. So that's the other part. Get good lighting, because good lighting can age you or not age you. And I use a lot of light to make sure I look great at all times. And, so that's something from acting, just knowing how to put your best step forward, how to look your best, how to come across your best and be a good storyteller and entertaining, that the person watching you is enjoying it as well.
And I love that you pointed out it's really important to drill down on what you're going to be talking about, the content that you're going to be teaching about or speaking about, understanding who your guests are so that you can have those conversations with them. And that really does help to lead to a more engaging live stream. What other tips do you have for developing our confidence and building that great on-screen presence?
So when I was mentioning earlier about practicing, I would also say challenge yourself, because sometimes you don't realize what you're capable of until you test yourself, until you put yourself in a role that you would never think that you would be good at, or maybe even be able to succeed at. And once you do, then you're going to be more confident. Once you realize, oh, I might have not scored exactly perfect. It may not be Oscar-worthy performances, but the fact that you were nominated, the fact that you got that far, the fact that you took that risk. Because a lot of times as an actor, as a creator, as someone who's in the creative world, people tend to tell you how you should do things, the way you should do things. And they're usually people who aren't doing it, but they see that it looks so easy for you that, oh, it must be so easy if you just change a little bit this or do a little bit of that. Be confident in yourself that what you believe is true. And if they're giving you positive, useful feedback, we can always get better. We can always grow. When I'm on set, directors are always telling me, do this, do that. and I listen and I pivot and do it that way. And that's why I keep getting jobs. But because they're giving me that feedback, that doesn't mean I'm doing a horrible job. They hate me. This. And sometimes they're in their own minds, because a lot of times we're all ADHD in the film industry, because that's how we're able to keep up with all the different many things going on at multiple times. They're in a one-track mind. They may not think, oh, let me say this very nicely to this sweet actress or actor that may be very sensitive and feeling exposed like a nude person while they're performing. Let me say this in a way that won't hurt their feelings. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to treat you like furniture sometimes. So even knowing that element of like within yourself, you're strong enough, you got this. I have affirmations that I do before I go on set, before I go on a show, that no matter what happens, the best show is going to happen. The best acting job. I'm going to do my best no matter what is thrown in front of me.
And, that actually brings us to a really good point, because a lot of the conversation we have around live streaming comes down to how you balance your authenticity and your ability to perform. And as an actor, you have to both maintain that authenticity that you have, but also perform the way that the directors need you to. So what's your advice for helping them to balance that authenticity and performance?
I mean, the biggest way to balance that is to honestly I always like look back at what made me get into the industry. First off, I try to remember that 12-year-old's dream and think of how can I make sure I'm being true to her. Doesn't really matter what 47-year-old Camille thinks anymore, because I'm living that dream. I'm pursuing that part of my life. And I also want to make sure that what I'm putting out there represents who I really am. Because one day my great grandchildren might see this, and I don't want them to think, oh, she was one of those influencers who just sold anything for everything and just was on everything. And, like, there's certain things I won't do. There's certain things you won't ever see me doing, like it's just because it's not part of my character. It's not true. People who know me know that I'm consistent, whether I'm in front of the camera or behind the camera. And I like that. And I think it's important for people to realize that people aren't watching because of your name. They're watching because of who you are, your personality, what you bring to the conversations, the way that you ask questions, and because they can relate to the way that you're asking or what you're bringing up or the topics you're talking about. And you're the expert of you. So it's best to show the best version of yourself and give them the opportunity to understand that this is fun. This is all fun. We're not doing brain surgery. We're not curing cancer. We're just making the world more educated, have more fun, sharing. In my case, I like to inspire my audience to possibly pursue the wonderful world of entertainment so it can get better, because it does have a lot of deficits. It does have a lot of areas of growth, as I like to say. So putting that words and verbiage out there, because words have power, Kauer power. I like to make sure that, I'm being authentic, I'm being true to who I am, and that the people that know me, especially my daughter, can see that it's a good thing to be true to who you are, because who you are is good enough. Everybody else is taken. Might as well be yourself.
And it's so important that you pointed out that you are doing this with a purpose and with intentionality. Do you feel like that helps you and potentially new live streamers to overcome some of that nervousness they may feel while they're on air?
I'm nervous all the time. I'm nervous right now. I'm probably sweating buckets. It doesn't matter. Do it scared, do it nervous, do it when it's not perfect. The idea is that if this doesn't scare you, this doesn't make you nervous, there could be millions of people watching this one day. You never know how many people are going to watch this, or some of your old bullies, ex-boyfriends. Who cares? There's millions of people who don't know you who are going to be excited to hear this story, excited to know what you bring. And I'm dyslexic. I have ADHD. I was a rape victim. I was abused as a child. I have all the reasons in the world to not want to be in front of a camera. It was ESL. So English wasn't my first language. I grew up overseas, tongue tie, all the things. People constantly told me no, do it anyway. So just know that your voice needs to be out there. That's the whole point of diversity, inclusion, and equity, is that everybody has that opportunity, and everybody's voice, everybody's stories matter.
I love that. And if you want to ask your questions, now is a great time. We're talking all about how you can use techniques from the life of an actor to implement them into your live streaming to make sure you're leveling up what you're doing and become more confident. So we want to make sure we get your questions answered. Now's the time to drop those in our chat box. We're going to be pulling those up in just a couple of minutes. And I want to really lean into the fact that you have a strong acting background. I want to talk a little bit about how you use that to engage on camera. And one of the first things that I think of when it comes to acting and engaging with a camera is body language that you are using on air. So how can people who are doing live streaming use their movements and their body language to convey a message and engage with their audience?
I think it's important to make sure that your body language makes sense. That, like I said earlier, you're not just flailing about, you're not being overly dramatic with your hands. I do talk with my hands occasionally, and I'm a fidgeter, so I have a fidget ring with that to help me out a little bit. So I think it's important to know why you're doing certain hand movements, because I even help behind the scenes on movies and different things, and even script supervise. Like I wear a lot of hats because I love being on set. I love creating. I love seeing things that did not exist get created. My mom's an artist too. So when it comes to acting and so on, you're preparing, you're reading, you're learning the backstory of the character you're going to portray. So when it comes to podcasting, it's the same thing. I'm researching. I am looking at past movies, looking at past interviews. I want to know everything I possibly can about the person I'm interviewing or speaking to or speaking about, because I want to be able to, on the fly, be able to pivot to whatever question is brought to me. Because even though sometimes they'll give you the questions ahead of time, I don't know what people are going to say in the comments, so it's might as well just be prepared on everything. Know as much as you can about that time period that maybe they peaked at, or maybe they were the most successful at. What was going on during that time? What were they involved in? Whatever elements that you could find that you have in common. So with Sheila E. today, she had mentioned that she was raped at 5. And that's why that was on top of mind to me, because I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. And seeing someone perform in a male dominated industry, do it with heels on, like break all these records. It's hearing those kind of inspiring stories. I would never think to follow up with that. Like, how do you think the industry should change? How are you going about, it's just that same way, like preparation, being prepared, staying ready, because then you don't have to get ready, right? Using your network, because with acting, you do have to make sure that you're making a lot of friends in the industry, because today's PA is tomorrow's director. So you want to be nice with everyone in between. And that's the same with podcasting. Your guest today could be someone who runs a podcast studio or owns a major network. You never know. I've had all kinds of people on, and one day they may say my name in a place where I get that opportunity when I'm finally on late night TV or having that fun variety show that I want to do one day. So yeah, I mean, I think as an actor, it does give me that benefit of being like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm in front of the camera. I'm happy here. This is my happy space. And I want for podcasters to think of their voice, their microphone, their storytelling the same way. What could go wrong? You're having fun. You're helping people be entertained. And that's what we're here for.
And I love that people are just resonating with this in our comments. We're going to get to your questions in just a couple of minutes as we continue to discuss how an actor's life can impact what you're doing inside of your live streams. So drop those questions and be sure to check out the comments, because Be Live is going to give you a little something for hanging out with us today. We know we love a good live stream, and we want to make sure you have the opportunity to implement all of these tactics and strategies. So Be Live is actually giving you access to Be Live for free. That means if you like how we're live streaming right now, you can test it out for free right now. They are dropping that down in the comments. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to check these out, whether you are an actor jumping into the world of YouTube or live streaming, or you're somebody who is trying to grow your own podcast or your own YouTube. We are dropping that link for you right now so that you have access to it, so that you can test this out and come back and get your questions answered once you've tried these things out. So let's keep going with this. Do you think that bringing the concept of working as an actor is important for all live streamers to do, or do you feel like that only some people can resonate with this?
No, I think everyone, because unless you don't own a TV or never been to a movie, I think we've all at some point in our lives have been inspired by a movie, TV show or something, because they're in everyone's homes. One thing my father always said was that there's, on Sundays or different days, depending on what day of the week you worship, that, they're only there one day, but when it comes to TV, it's every day. It's in your home or audio or your phone. It's with you everywhere you go. So it gives you really that opportunity to really get your message out there, to really change the narrative. And that was important to me. I wanted to make sure when I first got into this, North Carolina was going through HB2 law. And I was doing everything I could to speak with different politicians about how this was killing the industry for entertainers, because I was going from making full-time pay to part-time pay, if that. And it was very important for people to realize that when you boycott an entire state, all the people that work in that state are affected. And we're the ones that are voting. It's not necessarily that we voted for that rule. And a lot of people moved from Atlanta. I don't think North Carolina may ever recover because there's still they don't do the tax incentives. They do tax grants, and it's like all this iffy stuff. But I wanted to still have a way to still get my voice out there, to still have a purpose. And a lot of times when you're a person of color or a woman, there's very limited roles that you can play. You're either the hot girl, you're the mom, and then you're the grandma. And I wanted to expand my reach. I wanted to do more. I didn't want to be limited. And so when Be Live came about, the first time I worked with Be Live was in 2017. And it was like 2016 when they auditioned me for it. And I was just kind of like looking for jobs, like, since people now are getting jobs that they're not qualified for, let me see what I could get a job in that I've always wanted to do, but have absolutely no background in. Because I wasn't a journalism major. I was a sociology major. I took digital marketing. I did not take journalism. So I didn't think that would be a path for me, but I lucked out. The company that I worked for, they used Be Live. I had to host and produce the show at the same time. So I had to learn very quickly how to do both. And then after a while, I was doing that with two other co-hosts and was like, wait, I could do this by myself. I'm doing all the work. I'm making all the promos. So after a while, and I had some medical issues that made me have to step back anyway. Once those were kind of clearing out, although I'm kind of still dealing with some of them now, but once those started clearing out and I could live my life again, I was like, let me do this. So I started off with a radio show, just talking entertainment again, trying to get people understanding how much this rule and law was causing trouble in the entertainment industry, as well as NCAA, which is, I think, what really pushed it along, is because this is a basketball, football state. And when you start playing with their sports, it's the problem. So it finally was turning around, and I just felt like this is a great time to keep moving. And I won Best On-Air Personality for the radio show I was on, and then the pandemic hit. So it was like, of course, like with everything, you get an audition, you book the job, and then somebody gets kicked off the show because they got busted doing something illegal. That happened to me too for House of Cards. Oh, sorry, shouldn't have said the name, but oh well. That's what you get when you get me live. You never know what I'll say. Plus, I didn't sign an NDA, so I can say whatever I want. And so then when I finally started my own show, is because a publicist reached out to me and told me that they were canceling all in-studio appointments, or all in-studio interviews. I was like, well, I know how to get around this. I used Be Live before, and I'll use it again because I love how simple it is to use. You can be a one-woman show because it's Women's History Month, right? Because I do my audio, I do my editing, I do the branding, all of the things, but they also have great resources because a lot of my images was somebody from Be Live that helped create some of those graphics for me. So they're so supportive. Like the different members of Be Live have always been there for me. Anytime I've had tech issues, they're like, oh yeah, I just need to do this. And I'm like, I feel like I have an education in editing now and audio, like all of it. I've learned so much and they've been great partners. So those of you who are debating, just download it, because you can download when you're done doing your show. You can decide whether you want to do video. For me, it's easier to edit, or you could just do it audio. So you could be no makeup, live your best life, interview all you want, and still, it's such a great platform to do both, whether you want to do just video or if you want to do audio as well for podcasting. Either way, I love it.
And I have to say, you are absolutely correct. Their chat support is amazing. Anytime I have any issue, they immediately get back to me. They help me through the process. They'll talk me through with directions if I need it. They are above and beyond what most chat app conversations are happening. Their customer support is amazing. But I also have to ask, because you have been using BeLive for so long, what are some of your favorite BeLive features?
Yeah. So I love that I can put my intro so it records right into it. So I don't have to edit it later in Final Cut Pro. I don't have to worry about that. I could just bring it right up. I love with Amazon Live now you can do that whole carousel and show live links so people can purchase right away. I'm still working out my Amazon Live, but I've been taking the course, which they offer you a course on Amazon Live. So that might be another one that they offer you a way to learn how to make money on this app. Love that for me and BeLive. And like you mentioned before about the chat support, it's real people. It's not AI people. They send you screenshots of how things should look, where you need to do things. And that's important because sometimes when you get those random AI versions of things, it's a little surly, like it's not quite exactly what you're looking for. So you still have to go press search. Here, that's not the issue. They give you everything you need. You don't have to Google answers or watch YouTube University to get the answers. And I love that. Speaking of YouTube, you can stream to multiple platforms. Most places, you can only stream to 1 or 2. Here, you can stream to like 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I'm kidding. Because you can even do inside of your own website. So I just love how innovative and easy to use because I am not an engineer. I am not a techie well, I guess I'm kind of a techie person, but I do most of my things on my phone because
Sure.
And I can with BeLive because they do make it that easy. And I love how
it really is a very
cameras.
Yeah, right?
Like I look at myself on some of the other platforms like, ooh, why am I so grainy? Or why is the perspective wrong? And so like, I love that it's true to color. I look really like that in real life and sometimes a little better. Yep. So I love that about BeLive as well, that I look good on camera because that's what really matters. No, I'm kidding. And audio.
Always. I think it's important to look good on camera and to feel like you're looking good on camera because that does make you more confident and allows you to engage in an easier way so you don't have to constantly fret about the way that you're looking on camera every single minute of every single conversation. And we've got some great questions coming in. Lala is in our comments and she says, how do you overcome anxiety while you're live streaming?
Sometimes I do like breath work. So I'll do the deep breaths. I'll count back. I'll like re-look at my notes to make sure, look, this information. It's just a person on the other line. And then I have no control, like with anything, because now everybody has a phone. You never know who's taking your picture or video and where they end up. So it's like, at least at this point, you have control of it. If you decide not to go live with it, you can edit it. So you can fix it, you can chop it up, you can fix it in post as they don't like for you to say on film, but people do say it. So you have a lot of options, but drinking lots of water, being prepared, because sometimes you start sweating and then next thing you know, you're dehydrated because you're not drinking enough water and you're nervous, anxiety, all the things. But I do think do it anyway, because after a while you keep doing it, the anxiety goes away. Or for me, it makes me do a better job because I am in that like fight or flight mode, so to speak, where I have to do my best. Otherwise, I'll never get this job again or never going to work again type of feeling. Yeah.
It can be so easy to psych ourselves out when we are going to be doing something. And having a little bit of fear when it comes to live streaming is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it can motivate us to be better or to do things differently. But Jen has a little bit of a different fear when it comes to live streaming. She wants to know, have you ever worried that you're going to live stream and that nobody's going to show up? So have you worried this? Has this happened to you? And what should you do even if no one shows up?
I don't care. If no one shows up, so what? You're going to keep promoting it until somebody sees it. So if no one shows up live, oh, do you mean like a guest? Wait, do you mean like, because that's happened to me before. And you know what I did? This was actually really fun. So this poor musician, he had gotten his calendar messed up and was at somewhere playing video games. and couldn't get the internet to work. Next thing you know, I'm just showing different videos of him. Any minute he should be here. I'm looking on Twitter. And then I was like, hey, if you guys see him on Instagram, let him know. And so like people who were watching in the audience, they were like, hey, buddy, where are you? Camille's waiting for you. Like, so use your friends, your co-hosts, the people in the audience to help you too. And because Be Live is such an awesome platform to work with, you can put the link in the comment and be like, hey, anybody want to come on live with me? Let's talk about today's hot topics or whatever it may be. But I've had that happen before, and that's how I handled that, because you don't know until it happens that they're not going to show up sometimes. And as far as like an audience not showing, I re-edit my shows because it's live the first time around, but it's live around my time schedule because I'm a mom and I need to balance my life and be able to pick up my daughter from carpool and all the things. So with that balance, I just promote at other times when I know it's more popular for them to see my show, and just, you just keep promoting it and get your friends to promote it. And when I say friends, it doesn't have to be real life friends. It could be the friends you've made on the internet, because sometimes those are the most supportive, because they're out here as well as creators and understand that your friend with a 9-to-5 job may not understand how important it is to share content for you and so on. So yeah, like rely on the people, your audience, your crew, your entourage that's there to help.
One of the things that I like to point out is the vast majority of your views is not going to come from your live audience. It really is the replay. So when I live stream, even if nobody's there at the beginning, even if nobody's there throughout the stream or at the end of the stream, I still speak to my replay audience. I make sure they know that they are valued, they are being spoken to. And for the most part, on most platforms, people aren't even going to realize there weren't hundreds of people watching you while you were live. They are not going to see those replays and feel like no one was there. If you have the conversation with your replay audience, they're not going to be looking for those comments. They're not going to be looking for words on your screen that come up from people. Just have that conversation, and the replay audience will be there for you, because they're the ones that are going to watch it time after time after time, especially on platforms like YouTube, where there's a search engine and it sends it out to new people as they are searching for different topics. Now, we do have a great conversation from Philip. Philip is actually an author, and he understands the entire conversation about not looking directly into the camera. His problem comes with now changing that thought process over to being able to look into the camera as he's working on his YouTube show. So what did you do to overcome that objection of looking at the camera while you're streaming?
So 2 things. One thing, I do sometimes get distracted and I'll start looking and then I'll notice, oh my gosh, I have a hair in the way, this, that, and the. So it's better off if I don't even look at myself sometimes, like just enough to make sure, okay, I'm still in frame, because I do tend to move and want to get back in frame. And then next thing you know, the audio or the video is all over the place. So I try to stay right in one place, not look at that. But there's a trick on your webcam or your built-in laptop cam. You can put a wiggle eye. You could put a Post-it note. You could put anything you want to make it the most distracting part, to make sure you're looking at it, and use that. So I have a webcam. It has the red, green lights on it. So sometimes I'll look at that but then after a while, I'm like, okay, I'm bored of looking at that. Let me look at some eyeballs. So I have my screen almost directly behind my camera, and I just move it up and down every once in a while, just to see that everything looks right, or if I need to look in the comments. But for the most part, if I have, and I do this with any platform. So even with like when I'm working in a commercial and they give me a teleprompter, guess where the script is? Right in front of the camera. So it's the same concept, which I'm just constantly trained to look directly in there and just pretend it's a pupil, the little small circle that you can see inside of the camera, and just go with that. I hope that helps.
I love that. That is such a good tip. And I feel like even if you do not have that trained aversion to looking into the camera, that's something to make sure you are focused while you are on air. So if you are a guest on somebody's live stream, highly recommend trying this out. Now, if you are a host on this live stream, try it out, but try it out sparingly, because you also have buttons to push and things to host. So make sure you know what's in your capacity to do before jumping into that, if you're also the host. If you've got more questions, we would love to get those answered for you. Go ahead and drop those down below. But I do want to know, what are your top 3 tips to be more confident on camera for us?
Practice. No, definitely practice. Research. And know your angles. That would be my top
Yes.
3, especially as an actor, knowing your angles, know where you look. I'm just going to move this around so you can see. Like, I might have my camera up higher, or you might decide you need to be lower, but whatever you do, please don't do this. Like, nobody wants to see you like this. I hate this. This is my biggest pet peeve, is when someone, or they're like this, completely side view of them, but also remember, a lot of these talk shows, they have their notes right there. They look down, they ask questions. So don't be scared of doing that. Some auditions, if they give me the script the same day, they expect me to look down to make sure I know what the heck I'm talking about, because they gave me the script right before I went into the audition, when it's an in-person audition. So if you need notes, and that's the other thing sometimes, so I have my screen really minimized, so you're like a thumbnail almost, so I could also read the comments without having to move my head too much. I'm reading the comments right now. You can't even tell my eyes have moved that much from it, right? So do things like that. Have your cheat sheet. If you need to have cheat sheet that says, don't forget to smile, don't forget to breathe, whatever it needs. When I first started, I had all around my iMac these different Post-its of just things to remember to say. Don't forget to say to like and share. Don't forget to say follow me. Like different things just to kind of remind yourself, and like what you need to make sure you're doing your best job. So they can't see what you're doing. Do whatever it takes to make it better. There's teleprompter apps. If you need that, use it. The idea is that they just want a good show, and whatever it takes for you to get that good show, get that good story out, that's what you need to do. So I'm sorry, I went way beyond 3, but practice, research, know your angles. Those would be my 3.
Yep. And on the note of having notes, I really love that BeLife has a built-in agenda, so I can actually put all of my show notes in order exactly how I need them. So my little pro tip is that when I have bullet point notes that I need to talk about, I put them all there. Anything I'm going to put up on screen like this is right there, but I can also denote things that I want to say or do without putting on screen. So if I want to remind myself to smile, I can put that in there and denote it so that I don't actually press that button to put it on screen. I can remind myself to say like and share. I can remind myself all those things, and they're easily moved up and down to make it even easier as you are live streaming, so that you don't have to look away, so that you don't have to have all those Post-it notes, and it makes it much more simple to then know exactly what you're doing without having to look side to side to get those things that will remind you to actually move forward with what you're doing. And as we are getting people jumping into today's conversation, we want to give a shout out to all of our fabulous past guests. If you have not seen these episodes with our dear friends over at Bullseye Squad, at some of the other places that we have represented here on the show, make sure you go back on our YouTube channel, on the Facebook page, on the LinkedIn page, and check out all of our past episodes. BeLife is fantastic at bringing on amazing guests just like Camille to help break down everything you need to know to thrive in your live streaming space and grow your business, especially this month as we are celebrating Women's Month. So we're talking all about strong, powerful women who are accomplished in the live stream space. And I want to talk a little bit, Camille, about the women that have inspired you. So who has impacted what you do in your life and encouraged you to be what you are today?
Wow. Well, no one's going to know these people. Well, you might, but my grandmother, of course, she was the first person that I met that I felt was famous, because she was in the movie The Color Purple as an extra. And anytime someone came to her house, the first thing she would do was show her part and how Steven Spielberg told her what to do. And just hearing her excitement and energy and what it was like filming. And it's like, ooh, I can do that. My grandmother did it. I can do it. It must be something in the family. My mom is doing stunts. And it's just, it's weird when you're a kid, the way you internalize things, you just presume that it's something you can't do unless somebody asks you to do it. So I was waiting for someone to give me permission. And now I feel like a lot of people have learned, the rules are out the window. Do what you can to get your stories and content out there. But I wanted to go back a minute about something you said earlier about the agendas and everything. And that crawler thing that BeLive has is so cool too, because it's something that they just recently released as well. And you're right, like putting it on the tech side of things is very helpful as well. It's just I remember having all those Post-its So it's like whatever it takes. Because with my luck, because I am dyslexic, I would accidentally click the wrong thing. And next thing you know, it's out there. So my mom definitely, I mean, my grandmother's definitely one. My mom is the second one because she was a Shotokan black belt overseas in karate. And she won all of these different awards against all predominantly men competitors. She was 5'4", like 90 pounds wet, maybe. And so seeing her compete against these monsters of men, because sometimes they were military guys, it made me realize again, like size doesn't matter. It's just what you offer and what your package. Because I'm not 5'9", I'm not 5'11", I'm not 5'4" either, which is very common for female actors to be shorter. So it's just a matter of knowing I could do it regardless of that. And then third, that's a hard one because I really love a lot of people, but I think Rosario Dawson was one of those people that really inspired me because she was so involved in so many different facets of entertainment. Like she didn't just stick with acting. She did Broadway, she did theater, she did commercials, she does a podcast, she does a little bit of everything. And she's very involved in politics, which I am as well. So just knowing that you can do it all and it doesn't hinder your relationship in Hollywood when you're very vocal about opinions that may not be very popular at all times. So again, it's strong women in general inspire me. And there's a lot that I know personally too. That's way more than three, but I'll stick with those three for now because I am obsessed with those three women, especially my grandmother.
Your grandmother sounds fantastic, and I can't wait to learn more about her because how fun does her life sound? I love it. I want to talk a little bit about women jumping into the influencer industry, jumping into the world of acting, jumping into the world of live streaming and podcasts. Because we know that as women, sometimes we face some challenges that the men may not be facing. So what is your best piece of advice for overcoming that adversity and doing well inside of the live streaming and the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I mean, the casting couch is real and it doesn't limit to just Hollywood. That's somewhere everywhere. I remember the first time I met with a sponsor in person, I thought he was, because we had talked many times over the phone about what I was offering, the ways I could help his business and so on. And when we finally met, it was like he was hitting on me the entire meeting. And so I was like, and it was very deflating. So I started pivoting. I was like, wait, I don't really care about what he was selling. It's not really in my realm anyway. Stick to what I know. I'm an esthetician. I love spas. I love beauty products. I've been using the same skincare brand for 20 something years behind, like when I worked as an esthetician, even on myself. So I reached out to those people. They became my sponsors. They came in partnership with me. They helped me build, and they're women-owned businesses too, or women-ran businesses. I'm not 100% sure about the ownership right now, but needless to say, it's one of those things where it's just like, when those adversities happen, it happens in every industry. And it's like getting strong enough to know your boundaries, your limitations, knowing that they have no right to ask those things of you that you are not comfortable with. And I think I'm at a point in my life now where I feel confident enough to say no and be able to still continue the job without feeling like, oh, I'm going to have to leave, or they're not going to let me stay here because I'm not willing to do a nude scene or this, that, or whatever it may be. And I'm cool with it because the jobs that are meant for me will come my way, and I don't want to be tolerated. I want to be celebrated. So if it's a place where I don't fit in, they don't want diversity, they don't want a BIPOC woman that's dyslexic and ADHD, I'm not your girl. There's someone else that'll fit you. And I think one thing that was kind of disappointing sometimes is whenever women don't work together and help each other and extend resources. But for the most part, most of the women I surround myself with do. So, it's also finding the right people that catch your vibe, because you don't want to be around people who are going to bring you down and not going to encourage you. They're not going to support you. So just knowing the people that feel like sunshine and following and staying around those instead of the clouds and the downers and so on.
It is so incredibly important to find a support system that not only tolerates you, but celebrates you as well. I love that you pointed that out because we want to build each other up. We want to make sure we're sharing our resources and that we are helping each other to thrive, because a rising tide raises all ships, especially in this industry. If you've got questions, we would love to hear from you. We are going to be monitoring these over the next couple of days and weeks. And if you have people you want to see on as a guest, let us know. If you've got topics that you want discussed, let us know. We are here to help you thrive in the online live streaming space, and we want to make sure that we're bringing you back for even more educational resources. This has been such a delightful conversation. I have had so much fun talking to you today, and because we don't actually want to let you go, we want to know, where can we reach out to you online so that we can continue the conversation on your social media, on your website, and more?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website, CamilleKauer.com. Kauer rhymes with shower, rounds of power, all the flowers. But on there at the very bottom of my front page, or any pages on there, you can see all of my socials. All of my links are there, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I kind of use, but I deleted the app, so there's not going to be any updates there, but you can check all those places out. And feel free to reach out to me. I love interacting with people. Slide into my DMs. I am married, so slide only certain ways, because I will block you. And that's about it. Please reach out to me. And if you're part of the PodFam family, because PodFest is going on and I am speaking there next week, if you're part of that, or if you're not part of that, I do have a great gift to offer: free tickets to go to PodFest, which is one of the largest global podcasting events. We actually won a Guinness Book World Records for having the largest amount of attendees. So this is a great place to learn more about podcasting as well, and live streaming. I will be there talking about that. And the code for that is Kauer, Kauer 49. So you can check that out as well. And you can go to my website, click on the link, and it's all there too.
We will drop all of that information into the chat for you so that you do not miss out on this incredible opportunity. And because we love a good gift here, we also want to remind you that Be Live is giving you the opportunity to use this live streaming platform for free right now. We are dropping that into the chat. You can check that out right now and let us know if you absolutely love it, what features you want to see in the future, and what guests you're going to have on your show. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate each and every one of you being here and helping us to celebrate International Women's Month. All those links are in our comments, and we'll see you in our upcoming episodes here on Be Live's YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages. Until then, have a great day and stay inspired, everyone.